Hello there, welcome along. It is Business Connections Live. It is edition number 38. Great to have your company as always. We are live. It is a Wednesday night and it's great to have you with us this evening. Cracking show lined up for you tonight. Our guest this evening is Jonathan Fowle. He's told me off about how to pronounce his name. He's the owner of Rockstar. They are the UK's #1 mentoring and also funding organisation for entrepreneurs. Now, you may be thinking that over the last couple of weeks we've actually done a number of different programmes where we've been looking at funding and how you go about raising your money. That's all very well. I think if you look at the two areas, maybe separately, you've got the raising funds and going out there looking for money to grow your business. But what do you do if you're growing your business now, shall we say organically, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you hit that plateau? Many businesses come across this, nearly a glass ceiling, and you just can't bring the business any further. Is it because you don't have the skills within your organisation? You don't have the skills in your organisation? Or is it a case that really you just don't know the next steps to be actually taking? Where do you go to get that advice? Who do you talk to? Other people out there, there's got to be, hasn't there? There's going to be people out there that have done what you've done before and they know how to make your business move on to the next step. And I would imagine, actually, Jonathan, and thank you for coming in this evening, that's really what we're talking about tonight, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's great to be here, Jonathan Fowle.
Fowle.
You couldn't help yourself there, could you? Regretfully, I should have just let you call me Fowl, and we would have been fine. Exactly, all evening, exactly, and we wouldn't have a problem with it. No, it's good to be here, and thank you for having me. And yes, we're going to be talking about mentoring tonight and, of course, investment, because a lot of startups as well, more startups than anyone actually, value mentoring, believe it or not.
When I saw you for the first time, I was at the business show, and of course there, Rockstar, you're a major sponsor of the business show, but the thing that's important about it is you're giving young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs, for that matter, the opportunity to pitch their ideas and to actually go about sort of really selling what they're about, where their dreams are. The thing that struck me, though, when I was at it, a lot of the people I saw were young entrepreneurs. And is there a place for the older entrepreneur out there still? Do people still take the older entrepreneur serious? Or are we leaving it to the kids now?
No, absolutely not. I mean, age is just a number, as they say. We would welcome, and we do welcome, clients of any age. It really comes down to what the business idea is, if it is a startup, but most of the time, money or age, what age gives you is it gives you experience, which is one thing that a lot of our young entrepreneurs who do come to us lack, and that's why they see the value in finding a mentor quickly. But no, anyone who's coming along, as we spoke about earlier, where they've just been in a career for the last 15 years, they've always had that goal and that dream to do this for themselves. And it's usually a large redundancy package that gives most of them the confidence to actually go ahead and do it. We get dozens of those types of people every year, and we welcome them with open arms. And they're a joy to work with, and they work often harder than the youngsters do, because they know that they've been through the experience, they've been given this payout through redundancy, and they absolutely need to make sure that this business works.
And to a certain extent, I suppose with their age, they understand business as well. Listen, we'll talk more about that in a while. Let's find out a little bit more about you, shall we, first of all?
Sure.
Because here you are, you've got Rockstar, which is kind of a real showbiz name for an organisation. A lot of people would stand back and go, actually, that's a little bit serious and staid, and here you're calling it Rockstar. What's your background? Where do you come from?
Well, I'm originally from Hong Kong. That's where I was born and spent the first few years of my life there, but the accent is mainly Australian, where both of my parents were from, and I spent my early teens and latter teens there, and I moved to London 10 years ago now, in my early 20s, and I came here, not knowing what I was going to do. I started my career in investment banking. I was 4 years in Goldman Sachs in private wealth management. And at the time, I had no idea that the skill that I was learning there was going to be so prolific in being a good mentor and recruiting other great mentors for the team. Because my job back then, and I was there for 4 years, and my role was to invest millions of dollars of clients' private funds into listed companies in the markets.
So what did you do then? That's what you were doing. What was the thing that said to you, okay, let's let's do that for other people. And of course, that puts you in a startup situation, doesn't it?
It does indeed. The idea of Rockstar came when I was 25 years old. Why did I call it Rockstar? Because I used to be a singer in a rock and roll band.
And that's the reason.
That's the reason. Music is still my passion. You come to my house, I've got guitars and I can play piano, guitar, harmonica, sing, drums. I love music and always have. But when I thought I'd call it Rockstar, it was because I always wanted to create, Rockstar is effectively a funnel. It is a funnel that allows businesses of all different shapes and sizes to grow faster, and it allows the people who are part of Rockstar to invest in the companies that they can see the real growth in. And what I wanted to do was not pigeonhole the company with a name that couldn't be replicated in other sectors. So if it was called the Jonathan Fowle Mentoring Organisation, you can't really take Jonathan Fowle Hotels or Jonathan Fowle, retail store, where the word Rockstar, it does resonate across different sectors. And the last point about Rockstar is it's the third most drawing word in a positive sense. I saw that on a survey before I launched the company. I thought, that'll do it for me. I'm calling it Rockstar.
I'm just going to go for it, and that's it.
We've got we have sirs, we have lords as our mentors, and I have to say, during the first meeting, there were a couple who said, "So the name Rockstar." it took a while for some of them, but the majority of them love it, and most clients say, "I absolutely love the name."
But when you started it, there you are, you're a 25-year-old that's come up with this idea. Okay, terrific track record behind you. Was it difficult for you to do what you're now encouraging and mentoring other people to do? Was it difficult for you to form the company? Because, there's a big expense in what you do. You invest into organisations, you invest into people. Was it difficult for you then to kickstart it? Were there years that you went through and you thought to yourself, this really isn't going to work?
Absolutely.
So what was the catalyst that made it all happen then, do you think?
Well, I started in 2007, in the latter part, just before it all went kaput. And for me, what I remember about the recession is that as small businesses, whilst we were reading the newspapers every day and seeing tens of thousands of people, mainly in the city, losing their jobs, it took till about 2009, 2010 for us, I found, as small businesses, to feel that impact. So we were okay in our first year. We had a great first start. We had a decent second year, and we were growing and we were doing well. But when things started to get tough, it simply was people wanted it. People were interested in it more than ever. Businesses were struggling at that time. And I thought this is going to be a great opportunity for us because we've got some of the biggest names in Britain business as our mentors. They're going to want people to come in and show them how to do it. The affordability factor is what really caused us an issue in our sales. And we had a couple of tough years without question. And did I ever give up on it? No. I never ever gave up on it. And all entrepreneurs, there are certain ideas. If you make it into year 3 and you can genuinely see that the reason it's now not working is because there's been something that's happened outside of your control, then that's why I didn't give up. If it was a failure from year 1 and I'm still in year 3 plugging away, then maybe I was quite crazy.
Yeah.
But I know it was tough. We stuck with it. I had to sell a number of my investment properties to keep it going during the difficult times, but that's entrepreneurship. And then in 2011, we took off. We took off again. Yeah.
What do you think it is that makes an entrepreneur then? We ban the word around, and people would like to think that they're entrepreneurial. When they walk in through the door and you meet them for the first time, is there something inherently there that you can go, yeah, you've got the spark. I can see that you are entrepreneurial.
Absolutely. It's very much firstly the individual, the passion that they portray, which then shows their ability to sell. That's it for me.
So is it then, is an entrepreneur just a good salesman?
Yeah, combined with a good manager of people and a good way, and someone who is infectious to draw in good people to work around. Not just good salespeople. Salespeople in general aren't usually the best team workers. So being good at sales, yes, it's vital, because when you're a startup, it's usually you and maybe 1 or 2 other people. You've got to bring in sales from as quickly, from day one.
If you don't make sales, the cash isn't coming in, that's the problem,
That's
isn't
the
it?
problem. And so, yes, you have to be able to generate sales. But at the same time, a good entrepreneur is someone who can start effectively with the ability to make sales at high margins. That's another very important point. There's no point selling hundreds and hundreds of these goods for £10 where it's costing you £9. You know, that will kill a business.
Work, is it? No.
You've got to maintain a high margin model from the early stages as well. But combined with good salespeople, you need to be able to manage teams well. And
well, I was going to say, are you looking for leadership qualities as well in these people too when they're walking through your door? And he says, subsequently onto that, do you find that there are people who come in who are entrepreneurial, but are actually hopeless once the company gets going and does start to get bigger? They're great at startups, but not that great at actually running an ongoing business.
That less so. What tends to happen, you spoke before about the glass ceiling. The thing that always happens is when businesses hit a glass ceiling, it's usually for the same reason. And that's because we ask them the question, you're now in your 4th year. Your turnover was 0 when you first started. It's now 400,000 a year. It's now 1.1 million pounds a year. And you've been stagnant at that level for the last 6 months. And the main reason it always is we ask that MD, what was your job 3 years ago? What was your job 2 years ago? What were you doing day to day in the business that made it tick? And they write a list down of everything that they were doing. And then we ask them the question, what have you been doing in the last 6 months? And that's what happens. It's not that they become hopeless. It's when you grow. I mean, we had a startup last year, went from 0, this is one of Rockstar's businesses, 0 to 1.1 million turnover in its first year. That comes with problems because you grow so quickly. You've got hundreds and hundreds of customers you're having to deal with.
And you don't have the structure in there, the infrastructure there.
You have to create it quickly. And so you have to create that infrastructure. And that's what happens to entrepreneurs. They find something, they work their backside off in the first few years, they get through it, it starts to grow, but then they start to plateau off. It's usually because their role and what really made that growth happen in the first place has now completely changed, and it doesn't need to. It just needs to be retweaked.
Is this sometimes when you see people will actually step back from the business and get somebody else in who's actually got the skills? I mean, you sometimes see this in large businesses where the actual leader doesn't have any of the necessary skills, but surrounds himself by managing well with people that do have the skills. Is that part of the skill of being an entrepreneur, I would imagine?
Yeah, being able to let go at the right time. Absolutely. You need to be able to let go at the right time. But the company has to be ready to as well.
Now we're going to talk about mentoring in just a few moments' time, but that mentoring moment when you come in there, do you find people are sometimes resistant to being told what to do?
No.
They're all ears. Tell me what to do. I'm hungry for the information.
This is the problem that I've always had in this industry. Startups I don't have a problem with at all. We have hundreds of startups every week coming to our various sites saying, I want to mentor, I want to mentor. The problem that I've always had is that the more established businesses, 7 out of 10 of them have the mentality of what is someone going to tell me about my company that I don't know myself. So the people who are resistant to it don't usually pick up the phone.
It's a good point, actually. They're not going to be calling you because they don't feel that they need you.
Exactly.
Whereas they could probably turn their business around, increase profits and sales simply by picking up the phone and just maybe somebody outside the business with fresh eyes saying, actually, what about doing that?
Someone who's credible, though. You've got to have the right mentor, but we'll obviously...
All right, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll look at the big mistakes in just a moment or so that people come to you. We'll talk about maybe some of the presentations. This very I hesitate using it, but the Dragon's Den approach that is used at the shows, which seems to be very successful, where people are focused for a moment and they're talking about their businesses, and you have your own mentors there, your own dragons, I suppose, sitting there and giving them advice. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. So that's still to come on the programme this evening. I told you it was going to be really interesting. If your business is in that particular position at the moment and you are thinking to yourself, do you know what, how do I just move it forward? Do I need to be talking maybe to Jonathan, one of his mentors that's out there? Because that could be the one action that you make that's going to change your company from what it is today into the superstar company that it could be tomorrow, simply by picking the phone up and maybe having a word with Jonathan and the team. And the thing about this isn't a sales pitch for Jonathan's organisation, for Rockstar. What we're trying to do is that, I mean, there are other organisations like Jonathan's out there, but if we don't put it into your mind's eye to be considering and thinking about that may be an alternative to the way you're going at the moment to make your business a success, then, you know, That's what you've got to be doing, and that's what we're trying to do tonight. Put it into your mind's eye so that you should be considering it. Now, last week we were considering pensions on the programme. It was Shaw Walker Lee's Philip Skinner who joined us on the programme. A lot of us were sitting here. There was cold sweat in my bones, I can tell you that, last week. Are you prepared for retirement? That's the big question. Is there going to be enough money there for you to maybe have a successful retirement? The one statistic, and we mentioned it in this little bit of VT in just a moment, but the one statistic that came over was that most people expect to retire and have around about £24,000 of disposable income sitting there. But most people actually end up only realising maybe around about £12,000. Now, you may be running a business and that could well be your only assets. You could be living very much hand to mouth at the moment, and if you're not making the right provision for your pension, you could find yourself up the Swanee without a paddle. Here's Philip Skinner from last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Our guest this evening is Philip Skinner of Shaw Walker Lees, who's going to be discussing the rule changes that have just recently been made to pension contributions. Also, more importantly, we're going to be looking at what you should be doing if maybe you've left it for just a little while too long and maybe you haven't got some form of pension plan in place. We'll be talking about maybe some of the options that you can actually do to make certain that you are going to be in a good place.
Pensions is just one of the armoury that you have as part of your retirement planning. We're talking about pensions mostly, but it is one of a number of items. You know, you should have, we talk to clients about savings. What savings do you have? You know, do you have any ISAs? Perhaps you have a property that you rent out. Perhaps you might get an inheritance from a family member. But, you know, don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. 10 years ago, we had stakeholder pension come in, introduced by the government, because they recognised that many millions of people didn't have any pension saving whatsoever.
No provision at all.
No provision at all. And so they wanted employers to recognise that they should have a pension scheme in place for their employees if they want to join. Within the next couple of years, every single employer, even if you've got 2 employees or 1 employee, you will have to have a pension scheme in place. Well, the first 2 years is a fairly soft start. You're looking at a 3% contribution. That will be 1% from the employer, 2% by the employee. But by 2018, I know that seems a long way away, then the minimum contribution that has to go into a pension scheme for your employees has to be 8%. 1 year before you are due to start having auto-enrolment, you will get a letter from the pensions regulator. But don't wait for that letter. Why not do it now? Because the information is available, so you can plan ahead. Hello, I'm Philip Skinner, Shaw Walker Lees. I hope you've enjoyed some of the matters we've discussed today, but the key thing is plan early. Don't take my word for it. After this, why don't you go and talk to your accountant or your financial advisor, talk to people who help you run your business, and actually pin them down. What's this about auto-enrolment? You need guidance. It's really important that you, as the employer responsible, have an understanding of what it entails, because then and only then, I think, can you really begin to get the process moving, because you've really got to drive it. It's all very well relying on other people, but I think you need to really go for that process. As we said, allow 6 months to really get it up and running, but don't leave it too long before you start. It is a really important process. Engage your staff, have some workshops, some seminars, you know, so you can have a question and answer session. That's really, I think that's quite important. We found that very useful for some of our clients who've already got engaged in this process and what it really means for them. Ultimately, your employees are going to want to know how much you're going to put in, because that's fundamental for them. But see it as a way of retaining staff, and pay careful attention to the paperwork when you get it. You'll be given a number of options, such as where should you invest your money? That's your decision. It's up to you. It depends on your risk profile. So you really need to talk to someone about assessing your risk profile, what it means for you. Diversifying, not just diversify the actual portfolio itself within the pension plan, but about some of your other assets and investments that you have. You know, try and spread it around a bit. That is really key. Diversification. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. You know, but don't be complacent about pension. Don't rely on it entirely. It is really down to you. But as I said, plan ahead, talk to people like us. We can guide you, and that's the most important thing. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. So I'm Philip Skinner at Shaw Walker Lees.
Philip Skinner there from Shaw Walker Lees, who was discussing the rule changes when it comes to pensions, and of course very important to make certain that you are absolutely 100% prepared for that inevitable moment when it does come along. We're talking tonight about maybe finding funding for your business, or perhaps looking for that mentoring to take your business on to the next step. With me, my guest is from Rockstar, is Jonathan. Now, we'll go for the name again, all right there, Jonathan. So I'll do the Jonathan, you do the surname, because it's an interesting surname in itself, and we should really have talked a little bit about that. Jonathan...
Fowl.
Fowl. Jonathan Fowl. It's a straight... I know you think it's funny.
No one's ever had so much difficulty
Highland,
before.
I sometimes have Highland is funny. Listen, just a moment or so ago, we were talking about the big mistakes that people have when they walk in through the door. We were looking at the business show, at the mistakes that people make there when they're standing up in front of the mentors. What do you think the fundamental mistakes are? Where do they really go wrong when they're standing up for the first time?
Well, firstly, I mean, we do that live Dragon's Den because it's entertainment. It brings people to the show, but it's not real. And I'm sure you've heard that before about Dragon's Den. It's not real life.
It's cut for television,
It's
isn't it?
cut for television, and it's a bit of fun, is what it is. It gives people the opportunity in front of hundreds of people at the business show to stand up and talk about what their business is. Are any of them investable? Most of the time, at this point in time, where there's some great businesses, yes, but are they ready to say and show and prove they can justify a 200 grand investment? Most of them, no. Do we choose them? No, we don't. We don't choose them. But it's a bit of fun.
But surely there must be the occasion when you sit there and somebody comes up and they're absolutely stunning, and they blow the panel, they blow you, they blow your audience away. And at that point, do you go, actually, there's something here?
Oh, of course. No, of course. And a lot of them who come up, the biggest mistake, going back to your question, what they all miss is they go for funding, serious funding, 50,000 plus, far too early on in their business life, because they haven't yet achieved proof of concept. And almost every client who stands up and says, this is my business and I need 80 or 100 or 200,000 pounds, the first question that we want to ask or get them to tell us is, how many products have they sold? What did they sell them for? And most of the time they haven't done that.
Do you think a lot of people that are in business, do you think they actually understand the fundamentals of actually going for funding, going for the mentoring, but going for funding, how to value their business? We see this, and I'm kind of drawing on experiences when you watch the television, but you see this on Dragon's Den, where people will go in and they don't want to give any of the business away. But they want a huge investment from somebody to actually do that. So is that something that you see when people are coming to you?
All the time, all the time. We've got two types of clients who come to us for funding. We've been very fortunate enough to be given a contract from government to provide start-up funding by way of a loan to startups. And last year alone, we lent to 1,500 different companies, and we continue to do so. And that's a fabulous, fabulous initiative, and it really gives young entrepreneurs the opportunity to take up to £10,000 and mentoring, which they get for free, because the cost of the mentoring is subsidised, to grow their startup and turn it into reality. That's amazing. So at the business show, a lot of the people who stand up and say, I need 50,000, no, they don't. They need 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and mentoring so that they can turn this idea into something real. Most people get the mistake wrong for two reasons. They feel that they've got the best idea in the world, it's gonna sell, it's gonna work, but they need money in order to get it off the ground, and that's why they're reluctant in giving away lots of the pie. And then you've got the other type of people who you see on various TV shows, who they stand up there, they're product-based people, and they're there with they're displaying the various products, and you can see that they've put a lot of money into developing this product. And the question's always asked, and the answer is usually 50, 80, 90, 100,000 pounds they've spent of their own money on this product over the last 2-3 years, and they haven't sold any of them, or they've sold very few. So they can't get through their head, but no, I've put 100 grand into this business already.
I've got to get a return from somewhere.
I've got to get a return from somewhere, and it's not like I haven't put money in, I've put money in, but the key thing that they're all missing is a lot of people, you can throw money at a lot of different things, but what an investor wants is, I'll give you an example. Someone who can stand up there on any type of show or at our business show event that we do, and they can say, 6, 8, 12 months ago, I used £10,000 of my own money to launch this product. And in my first year, I made £40,000 of sales. And out of that, I made a profit of £18,000. I've done it with a small amount of money. If you give me £100,000, I will show you that I can replicate what I've done 10 times, because it's a scalable way to grow the business.
So in that particular case then, is it the actual right place where they should be going? Because what they're therefore looking for, it's a dead cert guarantee, isn't it? Within reason. I mean, there's always going to be a risk in business, but they could go to the bank, they could raise that funding elsewhere. I mean, what the advantage then of coming to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, you hear it on various shows all the time as well. It's not just about the money.
It's about the mentors, isn't
And
it? It's about the people that are lending it.
You hear that all the time, you know. And then whenever you've got more than, if we use Dragon's Den as an example, when you've got more than one of the dragons who are pitching or offering the money, the word mentor is always used every day. And in 2011, as I said before, when we took off, it was because of that shift. Mentoring as a word was being thrown about everywhere, in government, in TV programs. You know, the X Factor, Simon Cowell became the mentor.
Everybody was a mentor.
Exactly. And it really started to shift the element. We were there at the right place, right time to be already, you know, have that brand in that space for as long as we did. So it's not just about the cash. It's not just about the cash. It's about taking the money, which most of the time businesses have never seen such a large amount of cash in their account. And what do you now do to make sure that you are generating a return on that investment?
Do you think people really, from your experience, I mean, and your background's in banking, do you think people really understand the whole concept of proper cash flow, how you inject money into a business, how, I mean, you never hear people saying, actually, I want £100,000, but I want a call down of £10,000 over a 12-month period. You never ever hear that kind of language. People tend to go in and they tend to be saying, I want a lump sum in the bank there sitting for the business. They never talk about call downs or anything like that.
No.
Is that a big mistake and a lack of knowledge that start-up businesses have?
Yes.
That's an easy question.
That's the easy question, and it de-risks the proposition for the investor, and it gives you a much stronger chance to be able to get a yes. Staged funding is another way to put it, where if someone's saying, if we use the figure we're using at the moment, £100,000, it's give me 25,000 first. And if I haven't achieved this sales target based on what my business plan is doing within this time frame, you don't pay me the other
And that makes it a more saleable idea, doesn't it, to an investor?
All the time.
I mean, it's nearly worth a pump then, isn't it, if the money is available? Talking about your investors and also your mentors, where do you find them from?
They find me these days. I get 100 mentor inquiries every month. And
Really?
I probably meet about 8 of them.
And what are they looking to get out of it, do you think?
Yeah.
Are they looking to mentor and invest to see a return, or are they doing it out of goodwill and better judgment? 92
of them are doing it. Why do we get so many inquiries? Number one, we are well known, we have a good brand, but number two, we pay quite well in the industry. But
so for those people then that don't understand exactly then how your business works, because you're not doing it for charity,
No.
You're a business in your own right.
Correct.
What is the process then? I've got a business, or maybe I'm operating a business at the moment, and let's look at the first scenario. I've hit that glass ceiling, and I don't feel like I can go any further, and I come to you, and I need some help here,
Yep.
Jonathan. How am I going to move this business on to my next several million?
Okay.
What do I need to do?
Firstly, you have a free session, free consultation with us. And what we want to find out firstly is what sector you're in, what challenges you're having, and what goals you want to achieve with Rockstar. And with that information, we know which mentor is going to be best suited to you. You have an initial session with that client, with that mentor for 2 hours, and that costs 497 quid. And at the end of that session, you either take all of that advice and you run with it, and you thank
And
Rockstar,
you walk out the door,
and you
say
walk
thank you
out
very
the door,
much,
thank
and
you
walk
very
out the
much,
door.
I'm going to do it myself. Or what most people do is you see the real value and you think, wow, if that's how much value I got in 2 hours, imagine what I could be getting working with this guy for 4 hours a month, 8 hours, or even 2 hours a month for the next 6 months. That's the first part. But the reason so many clients come to us and then go and continue for 6 months is in that first meeting, based on who the mentor is, and our average Rockstar mentors have each started, built up and sold their own companies for an average price of £18 million
Crikey. Right.
across every sector. If you've got someone sitting opposite you saying, I've done this already in your sector, I've built it up, I've sold it on, and I know your sector, and I've got lots of contacts in your sector as well. This is the goal that I want to set with your business, and it's a financial, monetary goal, and it's always a hell of a lot more than what you pay for their time in Rockstar, and that's why people do it, because they see a genuine return on investment.
Is there a particular sector, market sector, niche market, that actually do come to you? Is it specific, should we say, to the high-tech industries? Are they the people that come to you? Or is it people that have just got a product-based company and they're coming to you and they go, look, I've got a great idea, we've made a product, we've come up with something that's innovative and we're looking for the funding, the mentoring to bring this on? I mean, is it niche market or is it product-led or can it be literally anything?
That's a good question. And the best way to answer it is for the mentoring itself, meaning you've got hundreds of people every month who know Rockstar Startup. That's the startup loans mentoring business. And the variety of sectors, I couldn't tell you where I could start with the diversity. Technology, fashion, beauty, e-commerce businesses, apps, the list goes on. It's incredible. Music, performing arts. It's hugely diverse,
So
which
really,
is brilliant.
there's no
Hugely.
area at all then that you stand back. If it's a proper business idea, if it's a proper business that's been thought through, then really it could be anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the funny thing is, every one of those companies come along and they've all got the same goal: to obtain startup funding, to turn the business into the idea into reality, or the small business into something bigger, and get the mentoring. Everyone who comes to us, like the example you mentioned before, where they don't need funding, they've just hit that glass ceiling and they want to get through. The variety there is also huge, but what they all have in common is their marketing strategies have stopped working, their sales have hit a plateau, and they've come to us because they need someone to really show what they're missing to drive their sales forward.
This is kind of going back to what we were saying previously, isn't it? That you've got people who've got particular skills in startup. And aren't surrounding themselves afterwards with the appropriate skills that they need to grow and to progress the business.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most common then question that people are asking you when they're walking through? We've said about the biggest mistake. What's the most common thing that they ask? Or do you think they don't know what to ask when they come and talk to you?
Oh no, they know.
Do they?
They know, they absolutely know. Sales and strategy. They're the two main ones. So combining, I want to make this work, I need my sales to increase, it's not happening, I'm being sold all these various advertising or marketing strategies to do, I'm putting money into them, they're not working. So I want someone to tell me, what am I doing wrong? Give me the strategy and the blueprint so I know the decisions I'm making are right. That's what they all want.
And when they come in and they ask that question, and particularly if it's sales orientated, is the answer to a lot of it the fact that they're not salespeople, but they are entrepreneurs that can start businesses but can't sell? Or is it because they can sell but they're selling wrong? Or is it just a whole host of different reasons why perhaps maybe at that point it's not working quite right?
I think it's because based on what we said at the beginning, it's because the MD, the owner who really drove it in the early stages, has now taken a back seat as he's felt, or she has felt, that that a sales team needs to be brought in, and that usually has an impact. But the main reason is in the last 3 to 5 years, when these companies have seen the downturn. Number one, we had a terrible recession. But number two, now that we're coming out of it, we're in a more competitive environment than we ever are. Whether you sell services face-to-face like I do, whether you sell products over the internet, whether you sell something, whether you sell media space, it's our competition is international now. And you've got to make sure that you're creating a unique offering and, most importantly, targeting the people who you know are looking for it. That's the biggest mistake.
When it comes to coming to the organisation, obviously, I mean, we keep talking in terms that we're talking about the mentoring and the investment and the funding. So if they're coming to you for the mentoring, they've identified the fact that they actually need it. How should they prepare themselves when they're knocking on your door, they're picking the phone up? What are the things they should be asking themselves, and what are the questions that they should be asking you then?
Well, people will find us or they'll see one of our targeted ads that we do, and they've come and clicked on it already. So if they've come and said, I want to have a free session to begin with, they obviously feel they need mentoring. So in their mind, they have their reasons as to why. When we have the consultation, we send them a couple of key questions. As I said, what are the goals? What sector are you in? And what are the challenges you're facing? They're nice, easy questions for them to answer. And that's all they, as a client, need to do to begin with. Because once we put them in contact with the right mentor, the mentor in their experience is very, very good at getting the answers out of them.
Now, mentors invariably come over as being somewhat aggressive. And I think people are sometimes worried that when they watch different programs, your mentors actually seem to be very business orientated, and while maybe sometimes not kind, are very, very truthful.
Yeah.
And it does seem to be a two-way conversation, particularly the ones that we saw at the business show. When it comes to the information that they're given, how do you find that your clients actually will handle it? Do they all listen, and do they walk away? And tell us, is there a worked example of a company that's come to you where a problem and you've been able to resolve it for them?
Oh, absolutely. There are hundreds of different examples.
You've got an example?
Absolutely. I mean, the one that comes to mind now, and I can mention a couple, but we've got a young lady who has a fabulous children's reversible clothing brand called Flippers.
Right.
And this was a young woman. She was in her late 20s when she came up with the concept, and she had the product. She was an architect, so very particular on detail, incredibly particular on detail. Had overbought on stock, ridiculously overbought on stock to begin with, and came to us because the sales weren't being made. She had a beautiful product. Her detail, her presentation was there. She was relatively good in the way that she could represent her brand, but she just needed to know how to sell and how to make it happen. So I was mentoring her over a period of 6 months. We set a set target of getting rid of at least 70% of the stock, which was in the tens of thousands of pounds worth. And we combined three things. Number one, offline strategy, the baby show, and online strategies. We partnered with some of the biggest online retailers in Germany, Australia, America that do big, large offerings of baby products from around the world. And we connected contracts, and she had now the 4 biggest online retail channels selling her product. And we introduced her to some of the major retailers, including John Lewis and Asda George. And it looks like nothing is official yet, but Asda George looks like it's going to go through as well in a 6-month period.
That's amazing. So what do you think when they're coming to you then? Are they actually... Is it not just the mentoring? Is it also the contacts? Is it your black book that you're bringing with you as well?
Massively. The black book is very important. You break it down into a rockstar mentor, not all mentors, but a rockstar mentor brings with them their experience. Okay? Don't learn from your own mistakes, learn from ours. The guidance, this is what we're going to do step by step in order to make you do it. Their contacts, to introduce them to warm opportunities and warm clients where the relationship is already built. And the last thing, the fourth thing, is accountability. You see, we can put a little bit of tough love on people if we need to. If people are paying us thousands of pounds to mentor them over a 6-month period, I do this each month. I give different goals and specific tasks for my clients to do each month. And I politely say with a smile on my face, if you haven't done it by next session, don't show up. Now, I do it with a smile, and there's a bit of banter there, but the message is true.
Do they ever turn up?
Of course they do. Of course they do. It's not just about the money and the investment, because our time is very valuable. You know, we've chosen to work with this individual because we know that if they put the work in as well, they can get the goals done. They can get the job done too. So no, we're absolutely with it. We are very much business orientated. We're nice people. I've met a lot of very successful mentors who have interviewed and said, I want to be a rockstar mentor, and I've politely said, this isn't for you, because their favourite 2 words are I and me. And if your favourite 2 words are I and me, you're not going to be a good mentor. But no, you absolutely want to make them accountable to do the jobs that you're getting them to do, because that is what mentoring is. It's you fast track it.
How small a business do you think it is? Where do you draw the line? Is it anybody? As long as they've got the money and they want the mentoring, they can come to you. As long as they've got the pennies, they can talk to you and have advice. Or do you sort of say, actually, businesses below this value, you're only a one-man outfit, I can't really see anything developing here. You're not big enough for us, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Does that come into it? Because you must be kind of auditioning the people that are coming to see you anyway.
We have 400 a month. So 400 people come to us a month. So yes, there is an interview element of it there. Do we draw the line on a one-man band who has an idea? Very rarely, because it's about what the product or service is. It's the mentor.
So everything
the mentor
on
has to ask.
its own status then.
The mentor needs to ask themselves genuinely, can I make this business grow faster? That's where the interviews lie. So it doesn't necessarily mean about the size, the stage or the sector. What it comes down to, and this is what we've always been, the brand that we've been, and this is why 7 years on we're still the biggest in the UK, because when a mentor sets the goal to achieve with that client over that period of time, we know we can do it.
And that is the difference.
But the moment we can't, I'll say no.
And that's a moment that you walk away and you give the advice to actually walk away. What about your mentors? I mean, do they... I mean, we talk about investment into the business, but do you ever find that your mentors actually become part of the businesses that they are mentoring? I mean, do they then become an active part? So
often.
It ceases to... often that happens.
Yeah. I mean, as I said before, it's a filter. Why is it that all of our mentors are multi-millionaires? What are they looking to do? They love to mentor businesses, absolutely. But they also like the idea of getting to know a company for 6 months, getting to know a team for 6 months, generating a higher growth for that company and showing that they can do it. And then at the end of those 6 months, what usually happens is that the mentor's like, I love this, let's do it, I want to invest.
Fantastic. Listen, we're going to talk a little bit more when it comes to the whole world of mentoring, and also, for that matter, the investment as well. We're talking Rockstar tonight. Fascinating insight. If you've been, I mean, we've talked about investment before in the past. It's a different place we're talking about here. Before, we've talked about the pure investment, going along to somebody. Yes, you do your business plan, and we had Helene Panzerino on just a couple of weeks back. Absolutely fascinating. Once again, she raises money for organisations that need it. Different approach there. The mentoring was there as well, but this is an organisation that is geared directly towards mentoring your business, making your business grow, with all the benefits of having this huge network sitting behind it as well, which can only really benefit what you're trying to do with your organisation. More about that, Jonathan, in just a few moments' time. It all seems to be going remarkably well now. I'll tell you what we did must be a couple of months back. We had one of our guests on. It was Nigel Blake. He's the managing director of a company called Perfect Pitch. Now, we had Perfect Pitch on, and to my amazing... In fact, if you go to our website, or to our YouTube channel, and don't forget you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. I can't bring it up there, just hang on, I'll just do that in just a moment. There we go, bring it up to the appropriate place, stay with it, there we go. And if I just bring it down here, you'll see that we've got our LinkedIn Masterclass, a fascinating class there with Steve Mills. We've got local SEO with Andy Williams. Incidentally, Andy Williams is coming back on the programme in a couple of weeks' time, but sitting over there, this is Business Connections Live number 21, how to make the perfect pitch with telemarketing to increase sales. And you'll see there that it's slowly approaching, dare I say it, it's coming up to the 900 mark. And that's, of course, Perfect Pitch. And as I said, it was Nigel Blake, the MD of Perfect Pitch, who joined me here in the studio. Well, great news for them, because they've been on the programme. They are now and have been awarded the winners of the Toast of Surrey Business Awards for 2014. And if you're wondering what Perfect Pitch are all about, it's those situations that you sometimes find yourself in where you don't have the internal sales team that you need to make those outgoing sales calls. What do you do when that happens to your business? Maybe you're a small business. Well, what you do is you get on the phone and you call Perfect Pitch. Now, this week's guests are Nigel Blake. He is the Managing Director of Perfect Pitch, and Paul Bryant, who works for Nigel. He's an actor. That's what it says on the script, but he does a lot more than that. He could, in fact, be representing your business. He could be drumming up the enthusiasm of potential customers for you.
So we're an outbound telemarketing agency, and as you rightly described, we get our clients in front of the people they wish to meet. But we took a slightly unique approach whereby we recruited actors to make those calls who are very well placed to do so. And that seems to set us apart and generate very good results. If you can imagine, they have ability to play a role, to empathise, to vary their voice tone. They have no fear of rejection and they remember their lines.
Confidence is a big thing, and I think, naturally actors are confident to be able to talk, to just, well, be a character, When you pick up a phone, you can talk to somebody and immediately you know that you will have to be a certain type of character.
Do you sometimes find, Nigel, when people are talking to you, they think they can do the job themselves?
Yes, often, although I guess there's two categories of people. There are those that have tried it and really didn't like it, and those that mean to do it but never quite get round to it. And the latter's very typical, of course. I think typically when we're talking about profiling the clients they want to speak to, getting the right company in the right size, in the right industry, in the right location, we can buy that data off the shelf. It's pretty cheap, it's pretty reliable, and because of technology as it is in 2014, it's readily available to most businesses. What we would then typically give to Paul is, here's the company, here's the industry and so forth, here's the job title we're looking for, but you may need to do a bit of digging to find that right person. But fundamentally, and this applies to any aspect in life, be nice to people, say please, say thank you, recognise when it's appropriate, ask them nicely, and some people will respond to that. Not all, but it helps an awful lot if we can do that.
Obviously, let's say if we're calling on behalf of gym equipment, I'm not the guy that goes to the gym, believe it or not.
Hard to believe.
I don't know much about gym equipment, but I have my piece of paper in front of me. I have what I need to know, all right? I need to talk to this person, understand whether they are interested or not, work out, once they are interested, work out how I can help them, and then put them onto somebody who has the knowledge. And that's my job, really.
First and foremost, think about your message, think about what you want to get across, and be very clear who you want to get that message across to, be it a certain type of business, an industry, a size of business, maybe a certain geography, and be sure you have all the tools in place. You're going to get increased traffic to your website, marketing material. What about if you're very successful and you book lots of meetings? Who's going to go on those meetings? So preparation, and if you do it yourself, it's not personal. Listen more than you talk and think about who you're talking to.
Give options and be personable as well. Be nice.
And well done once again to Nigel Blake and all the team there at Perfect Pitch, winners of the Toaster Surrey Awards 2014, and a real taster of what they were saying. If you want to see the programme, as I said, it's Business Connections Live at number 21. While we're talking about other people that are actually been on the programme, let's just talk for a moment about Brad Burton. Brad, we had him on the programme just the other week. We are the official media partners for the networking show which is taking place. Let's bring all the appropriate pages up so we can see them. There's the networking show if you fancy going along to that. Here we've got some tickets that are sitting here. The UK's largest networking event. Admit one, tickets £20 as you can see. And if you want to go along to the show, it's going to be taking place at Wolverhampton Racecourse on Friday the 19th of September. Don't miss out on this one. And if I just scroll down the page, move my mouse into the right place to scroll down the page, you'll see this is some of the people. We've got BBC's How Apt, the Apprentice runner-up, Neil Clough, he's going to be speaking there. You've got Brad, you've got Rachel, you've got Dee Blick. Also, there's Stefan, and Stefan Thomas, he's the author of Business Networking for Dummies. And if you want to get a hold of a copy of that book, we've got it sat sitting here. There it is. That is a fantastic book, written in the classic style of Business Networking, or the Dummies series. That is a great book if you want to get your hands on it. And the final thing about it, as I said, we are, as I said here, the media partners with them, along with 4 Networking and Smarter and BNI, the Business Growth Show. Are you going along to this, by the way?
Not to Wolverhampton Racecourse, no. It's a bit
Is this something we should know?
No.
There is one other piece of news. Be nice to him now, because Brad, God love him, this evening has got a new addition to the family. We've got a picture, just came up on Twitter this afternoon. The little one's name is Bonnie Ray Burton. So, Brad, congratulations to you and the entire family, and to a brand new viewer to Business Connections Live, little Bonnie Ray Burton. What I love about it is on that picture there, he's still wearing his Brad Burton logo T-shirt. You just look there. Has that man got no other clothes? That's the question that we're going to ask.
I think the wife's wearing one as well.
Yeah, I think she is. Oh, but they're going to get a really small T-shirt for the baby as well. Incidentally, the tickets that you saw there, next week on the programme, we're going to tell you how you can get a hold of your tickets as well. We've got them, as you can see, they're valued at £20. If you'd like to be going up to the Business Networking Show and joining us up there, the UK's largest networking event, it's going to be a fantastic event. It's in Wolverhampton. Jonathan won't be there, so he's just told us. But you never know, he might make it up there for the day. Jonathan, we're talking Rockstar this evening. Let's get back to talking to you about this. Let's talk about the growth of your business. Let's find out where you're going to be going with it. What are you doing when it comes to the growth? What's the next big step for Rockstar?
Well, I think you said it very well. That I love the way you said it. Yeah, absolutely. If we're ever doing any more television advertising, I need to get your voice.
Ladies
absolutely.
and gentlemen, Rockstar.
The plan I've always wanted to take to the next stage is Rockstar Hubs.
Now, what's that?
Hubs. Well, it's a physical space, is what it is. It's physical space. It's thousands and thousands of open square feet where our clients are coming to not just come for mentoring sessions here or there, but they are also able to run their companies full-time inside our hubs, surrounded by mentors on a full-time basis.
Wow, now that's revolutionary. I mean, for a moment it sounded like networking.
Oh, no.
That's what it's just for a second.
Yeah.
And then when you start sort of talking, so actually running the business, but having the resources of the mentors around you as and when you need them.
Yeah.
What an inspired idea.
Yeah,
Let me write that down,
Rockstar
just in case
Hubs.
I've got a few moments to do. That's a really clever. I mean, so how close to realisation are you with that?
I viewed for the second time a phenomenal place for us in the city yesterday. So currently finishing off the financials for it, but it's looking very, very good, very realistic.
And is that going to be
the launch is planned for 1st of August.
Well, we look forward to being invited to that and coming up at the cameras, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Maybe even, if we can get the equipment to all work properly, we can maybe come up and stream it from there as well. That'd be terrific. I mean, people. Ah, yes, they're saying steady. All right then. I mean, that's a fantastic way forward. It shows the success of your business. Okay, that's UK, so we've got the hubs. Are you looking at maybe bringing Rockstar to other countries? You've already moved into India.
Well,
now, that's an interesting market.
I tried.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. As I was saying at the beginning of the program. Well, it didn't work at the beginning. As I said at the beginning of the program, 2009 and 10 were our toughest 2 years here in the UK. And I had no intention of setting up in India. But you might remember, back in 2009 and 10, do you remember all we'd ever read is just this...
There's a really big push.
The growth of what was happening over there. And I had a young entrepreneur who found the website and was just hounding me day in, day out, saying, "Sir, you must come over here. Your model would be incredible. No one's doing it here. We all value mentoring hugely. And you've got to come over and do it." And so I did. I came over. He arranged a number of meetings for me at the time. I was over there on 2 trips for a number of weeks. Thought everything was set up, ready to go. Team, mentors, officers. What was the mistake? I needed to be there.
Really?
I needed to be there. It's a fascinating country.
Is that because of the cultural thing? I mean, would that have worked elsewhere, do you think, without you? Or is Rockstar you, or is it the organisation that you've put round you?
I would love to say it's not me. I've been trying to say that for years. But the reality is, it's an independent company. It's a brand within itself. If you Google any of the mentors' names, the first thing that comes up on Google is their Rockstar mentor profile. But all businesses have this problem. No one can sell your company better than you. And it comes down to what I said at the very beginning. What makes a good entrepreneur? The ability to sell. And when you walk into India, or when the other plans, the United States, maybe native Australia, where I'm from, most countries will respect that it's a brand that exists already in another country, but you're starting again from scratch. And so when I say before, you've got to have the ability to sell, why did I have to be there? Because a few weeks of finding the right people and training them to sell what it means and what the real brand is wasn't enough. And then when it came down to it, was I prepared to take, you know, my life and move over to India? I wasn't prepared to do it.
Does that mean then that it's not, you can't replicate it in other territories? I mean, you're talking about maybe looking at Australia. One of the biggest entrepreneurial markets, of course, is America. Is it a transportable brand that could go to America?
Hugely. Oh, absolutely, yes.
But it's finding the right people to actually be there managing it for you.
But you need the... and I've got a couple of recent friends of mine have done it. UK-based companies, and they've done America and they've done Australia. But they did it the right way. They will launch, they have existing teams on the ground who do the online specific marketing for it. But what these people are marketing is the launch event or the inaugural event of this brand. And then the main founders are over there for a period of weeks, a set period of weeks, sometimes months, and they are there to do the initial selling. So it's only in the early stages. And of course, there are probably a lot of franchising companies right now who are saying, that's not true, you can't do that. Of course you can expand or franchise other parts. I'm sure you can. I'm sure they've got a number of examples. But in my experience, if you want to launch somewhere new, especially another country with, in my case, another culture, no one can sell your brand better than you. You've got to dedicate the time to be over there for a significant period during the early stages at least.
And I suppose to a certain extent as well, the brand, the Rockstar brand, perceived then, is you, isn't it?
It is.
And you have the passion for the brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, don't knock it. It's a great success where it is at the moment. Tell you what I'm going to do in just a moment. I'm going to ask you to look straight down the lens and really just to give the takeaways that if you are somebody that's looking for mentoring, if you're looking for investing, what they should be considering, how they should be approaching you, how they should be approaching the journey to get to approaching you, so that they're completely prepared, so that when they do finally knock on your door, then they're in the right position to move forward. And also, really, I suppose this is the pitch, to sell the concept a little bit more. Not that you haven't done a terrific job all the way through the programme, but if you can do that, that'd be fantastic.
Sure.
In just a moment. We've got a cracking show lined up for you next week. Our guest on next week's programme is Colin Bates, Sales. He's the director of Unipart. Sales director, should be a comma there. Colin Bates, he's the sales director of Unipart Automotive, who's going to be discussing customer satisfaction, service and intimacy. Steady. He's going to be on the show next week. That's going to be a good show too. Also, as well, don't forget, we've got the business show too. And if you'd like a programme just like this one, well, maybe not quite like this one, but if you would like a programme just like this one to promote your particular business, then why don't you get in touch with us? Here's the email address. Hopefully that's going to be on the screen right now in just a moment. It is studio@businessconnectionslive.com, or you can telephone us on 01784 256 777. Contact us on the email that's on the screen there if you'd like a programme. Now, if you are sending out newsletters at the moment and they're getting no response, wouldn't it be better if you could sit down and maybe do a 5-10 minute programme about your business? Maybe look at it as well on a monthly basis, where you can go back and you can tell the different things that make your company relevant to your customers. You know, selling the sizzle. We are in a gold rush at the moment when it comes to using video to discuss and to sell and to promote the business that you're in, to see actual, real, tangible returns coming back to your business. So if you'd like a program like Business Connections Live, specifically branded for your show, then why don't you email us once again at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. It really is as simple and as straightforward as that. And if finally the last ad, if you are watching on our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. There is a small button just around about there, depending on what size screen you're looking on. But if you press that button, you can subscribe to the channel, and that really does help us. We're looking for real, organic business growth. We want you to be part of the Business Connections Live networking community. Right, enough from me then. Let's go back to our guest, Jonathan. Jonathan, introduce yourself, say who you are, because you're the only one that can. Say who you are, tell us where you're from, And then tell us why Rockstar is the right solution for small, medium scale and large businesses if they're looking for that mentoring and that investment. Straight down, camera 3.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Fowle, the Managing Director and Founder of the Rockstar Mentoring Group. I set this company up 7 years ago because I've always believed that real mentoring for businesses of all sizes is the fastest way to achieve the goals that you're looking to do. And what's real mentoring? It's firstly learning from someone who has genuinely been there, done it and worn the t-shirt. Someone who, in a Rockstar Mentor's case, has started, built up and sold their own company for an average price of £18 million. And they're the type of mentors that we've got within the group. And please don't ever feel intimidated by such a number. They're all lovely, wonderful people who are giving up their time to want to work with you and are obviously keen to potentially invest in your business as well. Our doors are open to people who are even at the ideas stage, right up to more established SMEs themselves too. We've got 2 tiers to what we do. The first one is for our pre-startups and startups, where if you are looking for some extra startup capital and mentoring that doesn't cost you anything, the government-backed startup loans program is something that we are a proud delivery partner of and will be willing to invite you to one of our free incubators, which we typically hold at London City Hall, where Boris Johnson spends his days. The second tier of mentoring are for those of you who don't need funding. You've just hit that glass ceiling, as an example. You just want someone who can work with you over a set period of time to achieve a specific goal that is relevant to your business, that you know that you can leverage off their experience, their guidance, their support and their contacts to make it happen for you. The website address is www.rockstargroup.co.uk, where you'll see all the different products for your services, for your needs. And again, my name is Jonathan Fowle, the Managing Director, and really look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
He does indeed look forward to seeing you very soon. If you want to have a quick gander at the website, this is what you're looking for. There it is, Rockstar Mentoring, Rockstar Business World, Rockstar Startup Loans. I mean, it's all there, and there's a whole host of information on that particular site, what they're about, what they do, and why they could work for your particular business. What's interesting, you've got case studies there as well. We're going to click on that just to see where it takes us. There are case studies. We've got video case study, Rockstar mentors, Joe McDermott. Loads of really great, inspiring stories there that really should be able to help you move your business forward and to give you that kind of advice that you're truly looking for as well. A fantastic opportunity, and you see the number there, 0845 652 2905, business mentoring and funding. All the information that you need is actually there. Can I thank you very much indeed for coming in this evening? It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us tonight. Thank you for sitting with us. Now, final little bit of ads. As I said, if you do want to contact us, please do at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Subscribe on the YouTube channel if you could do that. Email, subscribe, all the buttons are there. We love pressing buttons. In fact, there's probably one sitting right underneath this video as well. The other thing, if you don't want to miss any edition of Business Connections Live, all you've got to do now is go to iTunes, put in Business Connections Live, and you'll see us popping up there. We can download absolutely free from iTunes, so you can now, well, you won't miss any episode. You can even take it on holiday with you. And the other thing, we're going to have an Android app very shortly for the program. That's good. We'll have an iPhone app coming up very shortly. And really exciting news, we're very shortly going to have our own Roku channel as well. We're looking forward to getting that all sorted out. That's all starting in the next couple of months or so. But listen, from all of us here, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget the Business Networking Show. Till next week at 7 o'clock from me, Steve Hunt, and Jonathan. Bye for now. Bye-bye.